Why you always have mucus in your throat. Doctor explains the real cause. Have you ever experienced that persistent, bothersome feeling of something thick and clammy coating the back of your throat, no matter how many times you try to clear it? It's a sensation that can creep up on you, starting subtly in the mornings and gradually becoming an all-day, constant companion. You might find yourself carrying water everywhere, consciously avoiding certain foods, or having tried every home remedy suggested by friends and family, yet the feeling persists. The truth is, this mucus isn't random, nor is it simply a sign of aging. Your body is a complex communication system, and every persistent symptom is a signal, a way of telling you something specific. The crucial question is whether you possess the knowledge to interpret these signals. Today, we embark on a journey to unlock that understanding, guided by insights gleaned from years of experience in preventive health, particularly with older adults. It's a common frustration that this particular symptom, persistent throat mucus, is often misunderstood and inadequately managed. Many are offered temporary solutions like lozenges or simple advice to drink more water, leaving the underlying cause unaddressed. This video aims to change that by delving into 5 specific, research-backed reasons behind this persistent throat mucus in adults over 55. Furthermore, we will uncover which 2 of these causes frequently work in tandem, exacerbating the problem, a detail often overlooked in discussions on this topic. My name is Dr. Franklin, and my commitment is to provide clear, easy-to-understand explanations grounded in solid research, offering practical steps you can implement immediately. Before we delve deeper, I encourage you to share in the comments whether your throat mucus is worse in the morning or persists throughout the day, as this distinction offers valuable clues about its origin. Every single day, without exception, your body produces mucus. This is a completely normal and vital physiological process. Mucus serves as a protective barrier for your airways, trapping inhaled bacteria, dust, and viruses before they can descend into your lungs. It also keeps the delicate tissues of your throat moist and resilient, preventing them from drying out and becoming vulnerable. The mucus itself is not the enemy. The challenge arises in how it's managed as we age. A critical biological mechanism, mucociliary clearance, is at play. Millions of microscopic, hair-like structures called cilia line your airways. These cilia, working tirelessly and unnoticed, constantly sweep mucus upward and outward, keeping it thin and mobile, thus preventing accumulation. In younger individuals, this system is highly efficient, clearing mucus almost instantaneously. However, research clearly indicates that as we age, the cilia's beating frequency slows down. Consequently, mucus that would have been cleared in seconds in our youth can linger and accumulate for hours in our later years. This age-related decline in mucociliary clearance means that any factor contributing to excess mucus production will have a more pronounced and prolonged effect on older adults. Understanding this fundamental aspect of aging is the bedrock upon which we can effectively address the issue of persistent throat mucus. The first of the 5 primary causes, and arguably the most frequently overlooked, is laryngopharyngeal reflux, LPR. While many are familiar with classic heartburn caused by acid reflux into the esophagus, LPR is a more subtle, silent form. In this condition, the valve at the junction of the esophagus and stomach, responsible for keeping stomach acid contained, gradually loses its tone with age. This allows stomach acid to travel upwards, not just into the esophagus, but all the way to the throat, voice box, and even nasal passages. The tissues in your throat are far more sensitive to acid than those in your esophagus. Even a small amount of acid triggers an immediate defensive response, the production of thick mucus to protect the irritated tissues. This is a logical biological reaction, but when it occurs repeatedly, especially during sleep, it leads to that familiar morning sensation of thickness at the back of the throat, all without the telltale signs of heartburn or chest pain. Studies reveal that up to half of individuals with LPR report no heartburn symptoms, experiencing only chronic throat clearing, a morning hoarseness, and mucus accumulation upon waking. If you notice your throat is worse in the morning or when you bend forward and your voice sounds different upon waking, these are strong indicators of silent reflux. Additionally, it's worth noting that regular use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, like ibuprofen or naproxen, can impair the stomach's protective lining, making acid reflux, including LPR, more likely. If you are a regular NSAID user and experience persistent throat issues, this is a crucial point to discuss with your doctor. The second cause often manifests subtly and goes unnoticed due to its quiet nature. When we think of sinus problems, we often envision severe facial pressure and a completely blocked nose. However, in many adults over 55, chronic sinus inflammation presents with fewer overt symptoms. Breathing may feel relatively normal, and headaches may be absent. Yet, the sinuses can be mildly swollen, producing slightly increased mucus that silently drains down the back of the throat throughout the day. This is known as post-nasal drip, and recent research indicates that the average age of individuals experiencing this is precisely 55. Many who suffer from this condition mistakenly attribute it to seasonal allergies and turn to over-the-counter antihistamines. While these medications may temporarily dry mucus, they do nothing to address the underlying sinus inflammation responsible for the excess production. In fact, dried, thickened mucus can become even more uncomfortable than the original problem. The most consistently supported and effective approach is remarkably simple and affordable: regular nasal rinsing with a warm, saline solution. Clinical reviews highlight nasal irrigation as a safe, effective, and low-cost strategy for managing and preventing upper respiratory issues. These rinses physically remove inflammatory mucus, reduce swelling, and importantly, support the mucociliary clearance system that naturally declines with age. The key to success with nasal rinsing is consistency. Daily practice yields cumulative and meaningful improvement. Moving on to the third cause, which often surprises people because their medications, taken diligently for months or even years, are rarely questioned as a potential culprit. Certain blood pressure medications, specifically ACE inhibitors, angiotensin-converting enzyme inhibitors, can lead to a recognized side effect: persistent throat irritation and an urge to clear the throat. This occurs because these drugs can cause a substance called bradykinin to accumulate in the body. In a significant percentage of users, this accumulation triggers throat sensitivity. The crucial aspect that often leads to this connection being missed is the timing. The side effect can take weeks or even months to develop after starting the medication. Therefore, if your throat symptoms began months after initiating a blood pressure medication, you might not link the two events. However, research consistently points to this delayed onset as a characteristic pattern. Notably, adults over 65 have a significantly higher likelihood of experiencing this ACE inhibitor-related throat side effect compared to younger individuals. If you are taking a blood pressure medication, your pharmacist can quickly identify if it belongs to the ACE inhibitor class. If it does, alternative medication categories, such as ARBs, angiotensin receptor blockers, effectively manage blood pressure without this specific side effect, and a conversation with your doctor about these alternatives is highly recommended. The fourth cause, while seemingly obvious, is often dismissed as too simple to be significant: hydration. However, the physiology behind it is not always fully grasped. Mucus is largely composed of water, and its consistency, whether thin and flowing or thick and sticky, is directly influenced by the hydration status of the surrounding tissues. Think of maple syrup. Fresh from the bottle, it pours easily, but left open overnight, it becomes thick and viscous. Your mucus behaves similarly based on your hydration levels. The aging process introduces a specific wrinkle. The thirst mechanism becomes less reliable. Younger individuals feel thirsty well before becoming significantly dehydrated, but in older adults, this early warning system is blunted. You can be dehydrated enough to affect mucus consistency and comfort without feeling particularly thirsty. Relying solely on thirst to prompt drinking means you are constantly playing catch-up. A state of mild chronic dehydration can lead to persistently thick and sticky mucus, amplifying other contributing factors. Clinical guidance suggests a daily fluid intake of approximately 30 ml per kilogram of body weight from all sources, including water, herbal teas, soups, and water-rich foods. The key behavioral shift is to engage in deliberate, consistent fluid intake throughout the day, rather than waiting for the sensation of thirst. The fifth cause, rarely discussed in this context, is surprisingly significant for a substantial portion of individuals experiencing persistent throat mucus. The root of the problem may not lie in the throat, sinuses, or stomach, but rather in the gut. The digestive tract and the respiratory system share interconnected regulatory pathways through the immune and nervous systems. The health of your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria residing in your intestines, directly influences the reactivity and inflammation levels in your upper airways. When the delicate balance of the gut microbiome is disrupted, a condition known as dysbiosis, it can trigger immune responses that promote excessive mucus production in the airways, not due to a local issue, but because the gut is sending inflammatory signals that the respiratory system is responding to. This gut-lung axis is a burgeoning area of research. Numerous studies have confirmed that gut microbiome disruption can indeed initiate immune responses leading to airway inflammation. Factors that disrupt the gut microbiome in older adults include diets low in fiber and fermented foods, recurrent antibiotic use, high sugar intake, and chronic stress. Addressing a gut-lung axis issue requires more than a throat lozenge. It involves consistent daily choices to support your gut microbiome. Before outlining an actionable plan, it's crucial to acknowledge a vital point. While most persistent throat mucus in older adults is benign and manageable, your body can also use symptoms to signal more serious issues that require professional medical attention. Seek prompt medical advice if you experience mucus consistently tinged with blood, progressive difficulty swallowing, unexplained weight loss, a lump or persistent swelling in your neck, or a significant unresolving voice change. These signs warrant immediate attention from your doctor. Now, for the actionable steps. Tonight, aim to stop eating at least 3 hours before lying down. This allows your stomach to process food adequately, helping the valve to remain closed and reducing nighttime reflux. Elevating the head of your bed slightly, using a firm wedge, can also leverage gravity to minimize acid travel toward your throat during sleep. Before bed, drink a full glass of warm water to support hydration and thin mucus. Tomorrow morning, upon waking, before consuming coffee or breakfast, drink 1 to 2 glasses of plain warm water. This simple habit rehydrates your body and loosens overnight mucus accumulation, costing nothing and often yielding immediate benefits. This week, acquire a nasal rinsing device, such as a neti pot or a squeeze bottle from your pharmacy. Use boiled and cooled water, a small pinch of plain salt, and optionally, a tiny bit of baking soda to help neutralize acidity and thin mucus. Use it daily, preferably in the morning, and give it 2 full weeks of consistent use before assessing its effectiveness. Make an appointment with your doctor specifically to review your medications in relation to your throat symptoms. Prepare a timeline of when your symptoms began and when you started or changed any medications. If you take a blood pressure medication, inquire directly about whether it is an ACE inhibitor and if an ARB alternative might be suitable. To support your gut-lung connection, incorporate 1 small daily serving of a fermented food, such as plain yogurt with live cultures, kefir, kimchi, or sauerkraut. This practice supports gut microbiome diversity, which research links to reduced airway inflammation over time. Finally, set hydration reminders, keep water readily accessible, and consume more water-rich whole foods like cucumbers, watermelon, and herbal teas. While common remedies like honey can offer temporary soothing, they don't address the root causes. Dairy's effect on mucus is often a matter of individual perception rather than a direct causal link, though some find reducing it helpful. Be cautious with apple cider vinegar, as introducing additional acid can worsen silent reflux. In summary, that persistent mucus coating the back of your throat has specific, identifiable reasons. It's not an inevitable part of aging, but rather a signal that can be understood and addressed. Whether it's silent reflux, post-nasal drip from subtle sinus inflammation, medication side effects, mild chronic dehydration, or gut microbiome disruption, each has an evidence-based solution. The initial steps often require no prescription, only knowledge, consistency, and a willingness to treat your symptoms as important signals. If you've been told this is just getting older, I hope this information has provided a new perspective. You are dealing with specific, addressable physiology, and you deserve to understand it. Please subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos, especially the upcoming one on the gut-lung axis. If this video has been valuable, please share it with someone else who might be silently struggling with this issue. It's a simple act that could make a significant difference. Finally, please share in the comments which of these 5 causes surprised you the most, and how long you've been experiencing this issue. Your experiences matter, and this is a genuine conversation. Take good care of yourself.